Welcome back, class 11, to the online bio classes. We are already doing chapter 3, the plant kingdom, and in which we studied about the algae, then we studied about the bryophytes and the pteridophytes during our interactive session also. Then we found that all the plants show unique characters, and we have to learn at least 3 characters from each group. So now in the Angiosperm, which are also known as flowering plants, because plants have gradually evolved. Earlier the plant body was in the form of thallus-like when we talked about the algae. Because they have not well developed root system, they do not have leaves, roots, stems. Their body is in the form of thallus or sac-like. Understood? In which we cannot demarcate or differentiate that which part of the plant body has the root or the leaf or the stem. Then we found that the plant developed root-like, stem-like, leaf-like structures, but not the true root, stems and leaves. And finally we have the angiosperms or the flowering plants, which have well-developed root system and the shoot system, as well as they contain the conducting tissues in the form of vascular tissues that contain xylem and phloem. So flowering plants are the one which is successful, and it is a widespread group of plants. Many varieties of angiosperms are found growing. There are different types of plants. From Mesozoic era it has been found. Now what we have to read is the salient features of angiosperms. What are some of the important characteristics of angiosperms or the flowering plants? Number 1, fruit is formed and the fruit is surrounding the seeds. Like if you take the mango fruit, inside the fruit seed is enclosed. Number 2, the seed may have a single cotyledon or 2 cotyledon. If a seed has a single cotyledon, it is called monocot seed, example in maize, rice. But if a seed like bean seed is there, or even the maize, mango seed is there, it has 2 cotyledons in it. So such plants that have 2 cotyledons are called dicotyledonous plant, and it is there in the syllabus to learn the differences between monocots and dicots. Then third one is endosperm is formed after fertilization. You know what is endosperm? Endosperm is the one which provides nutrition or nutrients to the developing embryo. And how it is formed? It is formed when the secondary nucleus that is present in the embryo sac, the secondary nucleus is there. When the secondary nucleus fuses with a male gamete, this is a male gamete, it forms 3N, that is triploid, 3 sets of chromosomes. This is secondary nucleus and this is one male gamete. It fuses and forms endosperm, and this endosperm provides nutrients to the developing embryo. We have already studied that one of the important characteristics of angiosperm is double fertilization or triple fusion. What is the meaning of double fertilization? When the pollen grains are carried by different agents like wind, water, animals or insects from one flower, that is male part of the flower, to the female part of the flower, that is from the anther to the stigma. The pollen grains will germinate on the surface of stigma, and it will produce a long pollen tube, and this pollen tube will enter inside the ovule, okay, and it will contain the 2 male gametes, that is male gametes will be there. One of the male gametes will fuse with the egg cell which is present there, and these 2 are the subsidiary, we can say. Total number of cells present inside the embryo sac, there are 8 cells. I am drawing the diagram here. 3 cells are called antipodal cells, one which is present towards the one end. In the middle we have the secondary nucleus, and then towards the micropilar end we have the egg cell, and 2 synergids are there. Okay, synergids. So 3 plus 3, 6 plus 2, 8 cells are there. 8-celled stage of embryo sac which is surrounded or which is present inside the ovule, and the ovule is present inside the ovary part of the flower. We have already studied the structure. Now what I was saying, what is the meaning of double fertilization? Double fertilization means in which one male gamete fuses with the egg cell to form the zygote, and the second male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus to form endosperm. So both the zygote and the endosperm are the two products which are formed. And now next, why it is called triple fusion? Because this is already diploid, and when diploid combines with one haploid cell, it forms triploid. So that's why it is called triple fusion. Double fertilization because two times one male gamete fuses with the egg cell, the other male gamete fuses with the secondary nucleus to form two different products. So next salient feature is few nucleated embryo sac is formed. You see the embryo sac in which 8 nuclei is there. Actually both of them will fuse together. So 3 plus 3, 6 plus 1, it will become 7. Actually 8, but both these cells of the secondary nuclei or the polar nuclei we say, when they are not fused, it is called polar nuclei. But when they fuse together, they are called as secondary nucleus. Okay, so this secondary nucleus will have two cells fused in it. Now next characteristics is indirect pollination. Indirect pollination means some agents are required to carry the pollens in case of cross pollination. You have already studied there are two types of pollination. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains, which are the male gametes, from the anther to the stigma of this flower. And in self-pollination, the pollens are deposited from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower born in the same plant. So two types of self-pollination is there, autogamy and geitonogamy. And cross-pollination means the transfer of pollen grains from the anther. Anther is the part of male part of the flower, and where it is produced, a bilobed anther is there, and it has a long stalk which is called filament. So these two are the anthers. Already you have studied. And this one is the filament. And this is called stamen. Stamen is the male part of the flower. Many stamens together form the male part, which is called endoecium. Endoecium is the male part of the flower. Similarly, the female part of the flower is called pistil or carpel, which consists of a broad flat stigma, then a long stalk called style, and finally a swollen ovary is there. Inside it the ovules are present. Okay? And the ovule contains or it develops into seeds. So stigma, style, ovary, ovules, and inside the ovule we have the female gametophyte, which is known as embryo sac. Got it? Now next is we have studied the salient features. Then next, economic importance of it is there in syllabus. What is the economic importance of angiosperms? Angiosperms or the flowering plants are the source of all the food we eat. Not only we, rest all animals, even the carnivores like lion and tiger, who are feeding on the flesh of other animals, they owe their existence to chlorophyll only, or to the plants only, because it is indirectly the plants which they are eating, because they are feeding on those animals like herbivores which feed on plants. So indirectly they have to depend on plants for their food. And of course we also depend on plants to get our food, and that food provides us the energy to do all our activities. Okay? Now not only the food, our three basic requirements are food, clothing and shelter. Means we need food to eat. Roti, kapra or makan in Hindi we say. So these are the three basic necessities of life, and all these three are fulfilled by plants. Like if you talk about the clothing, then although there are so many artificial textiles being introduced in our society by the scientists, but they are not as comfortable as the natural fibers which are produced by the plant. Like cotton is the best one. Still we go for cotton. We demand for cotton clothes. Why? Because they are more comfortable. We are more comfortable in cotton clothes. Then silk. They are the also naturally obtained. So, but silk is obtained from animals here. We cannot say the plants. But natural clothes, I said, is more comfortable than the artificial or the synthetic fibers. Apart from that, different types of medicine we get from the plants. So I am talking about the economic importance. How these plants or angiosperms are economically very important. Apart from that, the third one I said, that is housing. So in order to make house, timber is required. that is wood is required for the construction purpose, and that wood or the timber is also obtained from plants. So they are also because of angiosperming or the flowering plants that we get different types of wood for different types of uses, like for burning to cook food, as a energy source for burning of or using the wood to make different types of furniture or household items. So many uses of wood is there. Now next we have to do is, in the syllabus, this special modes of nutrition is not there. I have just cut it. Like parasites, parasites are those organisms which feed on others for their food, which depend on other organisms for their food and shelter. Like if any parasite lives inside our intestine, like tapeworm or hookworm or roundworm, we are not getting any benefit from them. But those organisms are getting benefit in the form of food also and shelter also. So indirectly they are getting benefit here. Okay? So parasites are of different types and they are not useful to us. There may be partial parasite or semi-parasite and total parasite also. In plants also there are total stem parasites as well as root parasites. Now let's come to the syllabus without wasting time. Sacrophytes, it is also not there, but the definition you should know, syllabus is not there. Sacrophytes are those plants which grow on other plants to obtain their food from dead and decaying organic matter. Like if any plant is dead or animal is dead, those plants which will grow on their body to get nutrients from them are called saprophytes. Example is Neotia, bird's nest orchid, and Monotrapa, Indian pipe plant. They are two flowering plants which belongs to this category. Then next is Insectivorous plant. It is also not there. You have already studied that certain plants grow in the soil which are deficient in nitrogen. So in order to fulfill the requirement of nitrogen, they eat or feed on insects by doing some changes or modifications in their body structure, like the leaves. Like in case of pitcher plant, the leaves are modified to form a pitcher-like structure which has digestive glands inside it. So once insects sit on that plant, on the leaves, it will slip down and fall into the pitcher and the lid will close. That is a modification of leaf only. So lid will close and the insect will be digested and absorbed by that plant. And it will get the source of nitrogen from those insects. Now next we have Dicotyledons and Monocotylators. So let's learn some differences between dicot and monocot. First one is about the roots. What type of root system is found in dicots? Answer is Dicotyledonous plant has a tap root system. Means generally you will find that all the dicot plants will have a main or the thick primary root is there, and then from this primary root the secondary roots will arise. From the secondary roots the tertiary roots will arise, and then the root hairs will be there everywhere. Okay, so this type of branched form of network of roots will be found, that is called tap root system. In case of monocot plant, all the roots which arises from the base of the stem, they are equal in length, just like a fiber bunch. They are equal, just like one example you can give, the moth grass, motha grass we say, no? So that grass is a monocot. So once you uproot the grass from the ground, you can see this type of root system, that is called fibrous root system. Okay. Then next, dicot has a narrow pith and tetrarch-xylem. In case of monocot, there is wide pith and polyarch xylem. Cambium is present. In case of dicot roots, cambium, cambium is the type of meristematic tissue which is made up of meristematic cells that helps in increase in the girth or diameter of the roots and stems. So in case of dicot plants, cambium is present, and that's why there is secondary growth and increase in the size of the roots. The roots will become thick or quite bigger in size in dicot plants. But monocot plants hardly have very thick stems. Their roots are very thin. Why? Because there is no cambium, and cambium is absent, there is no secondary growth. So we can differentiate between monocot and dicot in different categories. Like first I said root, then I will say about the stem, the second point. In case of stem, you can say that endodermis and pericycle are present. Endodermis and Pericycle, both of them are the internal structure of, if you study the TS of stem, you will get the endodermis, like the outermost layer. If you see the TS, the outermost layer is called epidermis. One more layer of cells is there, it is called endodermis. In between that, the cortex and the other layers are present. So this endodermis and the pericycle, two different layers are, it is present in the stem of dicot plants, whereas in case of monocots they are absent. Endodermis and pericycle is absent. Now one more important point that we have to learn. In case of dicot, the vascular bundles are arranged in the form of a ring. Like if I draw a vascular bundle, all of them are in the form of a ring-like structure. See, like this they are arranged, ring-like structure. But in case of monocots, if I draw, the vascular bundles are scattered here and there. Means they are not arranged themselves in a ring-like structure. Okay. Then pith is present. In case of dicot, pith is the central part, that is called the pith. If you study the TS of stem, the central part is called the pith. In dicot it is present. In monocot plant or monocot stem, the pith is absent. So it's important to learn differences there in the syllabus. Then next, about the leaf. In case of dicot plant, we find that the leaves are what we say dorsiventral anatomically. Dorsiventral means both sides equally exposed, and the lower dorsiventral means like dorsal, the front side is called ventral, the back side is called dorsal. Okay, the front one is called ventral. So according to the side, the names are given. So anatomically, leaf is dorsiventral in case of dicot. In monocot, the leaf is isobilateral. Isobilateral means both upper and lower surface of the leaves are equally exposed. Okay, but here in case of dicot, the upper surface is more exposed, the lower surface is less exposed. That's why upper surface of the leaves contain more chlorophyll, less of stomata, and the lower surface of dicot leaves contains more of stomata. Then anymore you can write stipules is either present or absent in dicot, but in case of monocot, the stipules are generally absent. Okay, now one more important point. Okay, in case of leaves, one important point I was saying, that type of venation, what type of venation is found in the leaves of dicot. So a diagram I will, already you know about that. The leaves of dicot plants have reticulate venation, means there is a thick mid vein, then we have the secondary veins, and then they have certain branches are there that form a net-like structure, you can say. Okay, so this type of reticulate venation is found in dicot. In monocot, the type of venation which is found is all the leaves have parallel venation. The veins run parallel to each other, just like we have in case of the grasses, or in case of banana also parallel venation is there. Now next, one more important point was there. Leaf base, ligules, petals is present. Yeah. Now next, mesophyll is not differentiated into that palisade and spongy cells, but in case of dicot, the spongy cells and palisade cells are found in case of mesophyll. So what is mesophyll tissue? The tissue which forms the leaf, it is of two different shapes. The tall columnar pillar-like cells are called palisade, and the oval cells are called spongy cells. So in case of dicot leaves or dicot plants, you will find that both palisade and spongy cells are present. In monocot, it is not present. It is not differentiated. Now comes flowers. In case of dicot plant, the flowers are penta or tetramerous. Flowers are penta or tetramerous, has 5 sepals or petals, or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, or it may be 5 also. Means 5 petals and sepals. Whereas in case of monocots, only 3 are there, trimerous. So it can be trimerous. Flowers are generally trimerous. They have distinct sepals and petals. In case of dicot, in monocot, sepals and petals are not distinct. And the last one is about the seed. In case of monocot, only single cotyledon is there. In case of dicots, we have 2 cotyledons. So today up to this much only. Next we can study about the other characteristics of plants, like diagram of all these differences. I will give you in your group. You can draw this diagram also, and then we have to study about the life cycle patterns and systems of classification. Thank you.